बोले सद्गुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। जिस मरने से जग धरे मेरा मन आनंद, जिस मरने से जग धरे मेरे मन आनंद, मरने से ही पाए पूर्ण परमानंद, मरण से ही परमानंद। खलक समाना काक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। खलक समाना काक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। खलक समाना काक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। एहवा तेरी कोई नहीं हो, एहवा तेरी कोई नहीं हो, झूठो यह संसार। अंत काल जब आवही, अंत काल जब आवही, तो सब ही रहे कर झाड़, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। खलक समाना खाक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। मात पिता सुत बांधवा हो, मात पिता सुत बांधवा हो, और दुलारी नार, ये सब हिल मिल बिछड़े, ये सब हिल मिल बिछड़े, तेरे शोभा है दिन चार, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो। खलक समाना खाक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो।
खलक समाना खाक में नर, निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो।
बार बार तो यशुआ मोर गवार। कहे कबीर चित चेतले, कहे कबीर चित चेतले नहीं तो सहे मार। निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो, खलक समाना पाक में नर। निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो, खलक समाना पाक में नर। निपट चलो कर झाड़ हो, निपट चलो कर। मेरा मुझ में कुछ नहीं, जो कुछ है सो तोर। मेरा मुझ में कुछ नहीं, जो कुछ है सो तोर। तेरा तुझको सौंपटे क्या लागत है मोर। तेरा तुझको सौंपटे क्या लागत है मोर। सत सुकृत सतनाम जगत जाने नहीं। सत सुकृत सतनाम जगत जाने नहीं। बिना प्रेम परतीत कहाँ माने नहीं। बिना प्रेम परतीत कहाँ माने नहीं। जग में जीव अनेक चिन्ह नहीं पीर को। जग में जीव अनेक चिन्ह नहीं पीर को। कितनो हो समुझाए 84 जीव को। कितनो हो समुझाए 84 जीव को। कितनो हो समुझाए 84 जीव को। जो सुख में तुम मगन रहो संसार में। जो सुख में तुम मगन रहो संसार में। सो सुख सपने के राज जो सब भार में। सो सुख सपने राज जो सब भार में। सो सुख सपने के राज जो सब भार में। गय कंद पुरुष निर्भान है। गय कंद पुरुष निर्भान है। भूकन व्यास निय शरनाम है। कबीर साहिब की जय। गुरु को की जय बंदगी, कोटि कोटि प्रणाम। गुरु को की जय बंदगी, कोटि कोटि प्रणाम।
ईश न जाने भृंग को गुरु कर ले आप समान।
ईश न जाने भृंग को गुरु कर ले आप समान। बोले सतगुरु कबीर साहिब की जय।
Brothers and sisters, devotees, chelas, friends and relatives, Bandagi Sahib, Namaskar, Assalamu Alaikum, and good afternoon to each and every one of you. On behalf of the Das family, I take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to this funeral ceremony or Antin Sanskar of our beloved Guruji, Mahant Shree Dr. Deochan Sahib. We thank you all for attending and additionally for all the love and support that you have been giving us thus far. May we all receive the grace and blessings of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib during this difficult period. Brothers and sisters, our Guruji was a simple man, and so will be this ceremony this afternoon. So in keeping with our Kabirpan tradition, we will now commence the ceremony with our salutations and protestations. Let us all, with love and devotion, evoke the presence of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib and collectively seek the blessings of all the sons, acharyas, gurus of this great sampradaya. So let us all offer our salutation. Satnam, Satya Sukrit, Adi Adari Ajar Achanta Purish, Munindra Karuname Kabir, Surati Yoga Santain, Dhani Dharmada Churamaninam Sudarshanam, Kulpatinam Prabhur Gurubala Pir, Kamalnam Amulnam, Surati Sanehinam, Haknam Paknam Pragatnam Dhirajnam, Ugranam Dayanam, Hajur Grandamuninam, Hajur Prakash Maninam, Hajur Uritanam, Hajur Mukundamaninam, Hajur Ardanam Ki Daya Char Guru Bans Bialis Ki Daya Sababidi Muda Mangala Karanam Haranaya Shekalesh Satyanam Samanam Nahi Varadai Kabadadesh Guru Ke Sumirana Mantra Se Nashad Viganayanant Tase Sarvaramba Me Dhyavatahi Sabsant Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahm Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Dhyana Moolam Gurur Murti Puja Moolam Guru Vakyam Moksham Moolam Guru Kripa Bando Guru Parakanj Kripa Sindhu Nararupa Hare Mahamohatam Punj Jasu Vachan Ravi Karnikara Rama Krishna Se Kovara Inho Tu Guru Kin Teen Loka Ke Vedane Guru Age Adin पूजा गुरु को कीजिए सब पूजा जहिमा जब जल सींचे मूरत रूसा का पात्र गाय वंदो चरण सरोज गुरु मुर मंगल याग जैसे वट नर होत है भव सागर के पार गुरु दुखे तुम बिन रतत द्वारे, प्रगट दर्शन दीजिए। गुरु स्वामी या सुनो बिनती मोरे, बलि जागो विलंबन कीजिए। गुरु नयन भरी भरी रहत हेरो, निमिषनेहन चाहिए। गुरु बाह दीजे बंदी चोर, सुअब की बंदी चुराइए। तन व्ययु व्याकुल, बिन देखे अब ना रहूं। तपट टन में उठत ज्वाला, कठिन दुख कैसे सहो। गुण अवगुण अपराध क्षमा कर, अवन पतित बिसारिए। यह बिनती धर्मदास जन की, सत्य पुरुष अब मानिए। सत्य पुरुष अब मानिए। नमो नमो गुरुदेव को, नमो कबीर कृपाद, नमो संत शरणागति सकल पापो विचार। बंदी चोल कृपाल प्रभु, विघ्न विनाशक नाम। अशरण शरण बंधु चरण, सब विधि मंगल धाम। माला टोपी सुमिरनी, सदगुरु दिया बख्शीश। पल पल गुरु को बंदगी, चरणन माओ शीश। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, हो अब दिल मगन ब्रह्मा। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, हो अब दिल मगन भये। मगन भये दिल मगन भये, दिल मगन भये। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, अमर लोक से साहिब आए, अमर लोक से साहिब आए। कोलत भरम दीवार, कोया बदिल मगन भये। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, कोया बदिल मगन भये। गगन जरो का खूब बनी है, गगन जरो का खूब बनी है। जगमग ज्योति अपार, अब दिल मगन भये। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, अब दिल मगन भये। आमिनी चरण कमल पर बिनवे, आमिनी चरण कमल पर बिनवे। वियंक पसारे, अब दिल मगन भये। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, अब दिल मगन भये। धर्मदास बिनवे कर जोरी, धर्मदास बिनवे कर जोरी। सतगुरु हंस उबार, अब दिल मगन भये। गुरु जी से दरस दीदार, अब दिल मगन भये। अब दिल मगन भये, अब दिल मगन भये। बोलो सतगुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। Brothers and sisters, you may take your seats. Okay, so we'll do our bandagi, charana bandagi, charana seva, अजर मोर बिस्तर। साहिब कबीर को बंदगी पूछे, उतरे सिर से बार। कहे कबीर सुनो धर्मदास, चरण बंदगी करो प्रकाश। ज्ञानी ज्ञानी नागा निर्वाणी, कुठारी बंदारी खत दर्शन चार संप्रदा। 52 द्वार 4 गुरु बंस 42 की, Sakala Hansa Bandagi Saheb, Saheb Bandagi Saheb. Bolo Satguru Kabir Saheb Ki Jai. Brothers and sisters, I have had the honor, I must say, and the good fortune of spending over 30 years of my life, I would say adult life, closely connected with our Sahebji, whose body you see there is lying. Remember I said whose body, right? During this period, I have always been intrigued, and uniquely so, with his thought processes. So much so that I started to, many years ago, take down notes when you're doing satsang. You know, a real note taker. And I fill up 2 diaries. And very so often I sit down with that diary when I'm looking for ideas on presenting messages of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib. And I'm always struck and by this great, where does he get his information? And most of the time he will spill that off from inside his head. And one will wonder. It mystifies me all the time. And that's the reason why I felt that Sahib had something special for me and my family. And since 1978, he has been doing satsang in my home. ascended the throne, but not a physical throne. This is a different kind of throne. And you will see that depicted in one of the dories, which these Bhajanyas will sing, Shabda Singhasan Patame, Hansa Baite Aihu. O Hansa, sit on the exalted seat of Shabd. A great Mahant is versed in the science of Shabad. This is how he has very refined intellect and sensation for his environment. So brothers and sisters, if I continue, I will go on and on. So at this point in time, we will have the pujan, the snan, tilak, and sugandh and stuff like that. And while this is going on, many of us will be chanting the Gyan Gudri. Okay, Bolo Satguru Kabir Saheb ki jai. धर्मदास बिनवे कर जोरी साहिब सुनिए बिनती मोरी आया गुदरी कहो संदेशा जासे जीव का मिटे अंदेशा अलक पुरुष जब किया विचारा अलक 84 धागा धारा पांच तत्व की गुदरी बीनी तीन गुणन से तारी कीनी तामे जीव ब्रह्म और माया समृत ऐसा खेल बनाया जीवन 5-25 लागे काम क्रोध मोह मद पागे काया गुदरी का विस्तारा देखो संतो अगम सिंगारा चांद सूरज दो पेवन लागे गुरु प्रताप से सोवत जागे शब्द की सोई सुरति का डोरा ज्ञान की टोपन सिर जन जोरा अब गुदरी की कर होशियारा राग न लागे टेक विचारा सुमति का साबन सिर जन धोई कुमति में कुदारो कोई जिन गुदरी का किया विचारा सो जन बेटे सिर जन हारा धीरज धुनि ध्यान धरे आसन सत्य की कोपी सहज सिंहासन युक्ति का मंडल कर गही लीना प्रेम पावई मुर्शिद छीना सेवी शील विवेक की माला दया की टोपी तन धर्मशाला महर मतंगा मत वैशाखी मृगशाला मन ही की राखी निश्चय धोती पवन जनेऊ अजपा जपे सुजाने भेऊ रहे निरंतर सतगुरु दाया साधु संगत करि सब कछु पाया लौकी लकुति हृदय जोरी क्षमा कराओ पहिर बहोरी मुक्ति में कला सुकृत सुमरणी प्रेम पियाला पीवे मौनी उदास कुबरी कलह निवारी ममता कुत्ती कोललकारी युक्ति जंजीर बांध जब लीना अगमय गोचर किरकी चीन्हा विराग त्याग विज्ञान निधान तत्व तिलक दीन्हा निर्वाण गुरु गम चकमक मन सातूला ब्रह्म अग्नि प्रगट कर मूला संशय शोक सकल ब्रह्मचारा 5-25 प्रगट ही मारा दिल का दर्पण दुविधा खोई सो वैरागी पक्का होई शून्य महल में फेरी देही अमृत रस की भिक्षा लेही दुख सुख मेला जग का भाव त्रिवेणी के घाट नहाओ तन मन शोध भया जब ज्ञान तब लक पावे पर निर्वाण
अष्टकमल दल चक्र सूजे
योगी आप आप में भूजे इंगला पिंगला के घर जाई
सुख मन
नारी रही ठहराई ओहम सोहम तत्व विचारा बंकनाल में किया समारा मन को मार गगन चढ़ी जाई मान सरोवर पैठ नहाई अनहर नार नाम की पूजा
ब्रह्म विराग देव
नहीं दूजा
छुटी गई कशमल कर्म जलेखा यह नैनन साहिब को देखा अहंकार अभिमान बिदारा घट का चौका कर उजियारा चित कर चंदन मन सा फूला हित कर संपुट कर ले मूला श्रजा चवार प्रीत कर धूपा नौतम नाम साहिब को रूपा
दिया
पयलीका जिन यह प्रगट चलायो बेका साहेब कबीर प्रकस जब दीना सुर नर मुनि सब गुररी लीना ज्ञान गुरुदड़ी परे प्रभाता जन्म जन्म के पातक जाता ज्ञान गुरुदड़ी परे ज्ञाना सोलखी पावे पर निर्वाण सांझ सुमिरन
जो
नर करही जरा मरण भव सागर तरही कहे कबीर सुनो धर्मदासा ज्ञान गोदड़ी करो प्रकाशा
माला तोपी सुमिरनी सतगुरु दिया बख्शीश पल पल गुरु को बंदगी चरण नमावूशी भव भंजन दुख परिहरन अमर करन शरीर आदि युगादि आप हो गुरु चारु योग कबीर बंदी चोर कहाइया बलक शहर मंजार ज्योति बंधन बेश का धन धन के संसार मैं कबीर बिचलो नहीं शब्द मोर सम्राट ताको लोक बताए हूँ जो चरे शब्द पुराट बोलो सतगुरु कबीर साहिब की धर्मदास साहिब की जय पंच श्री हजूर अर्धनाम साहिब की जय गुरुवर महंत देवचान दास साहिब की जय संत महंतों की जय आज की आनंद की जय बोलो सतगुरुदेव की जय।
बोले सतगुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। रहना नहीं देश बिराना है, रहना नहीं देश बिराना है, रहना नहीं देश बिराना है, रहना नहीं देश बिराना है।
right.
संसार कांटों की बारी, यह संसार कांटों की बारी, यह संसार कांटों की बारी, यह संसार कांटों की बारी। उलझ पुलझ मर जाना है, मर जाना है, रहना नहीं देश वीराना है, रहना नहीं देश वीराना है। यह संसार झाड़ रुझा कर, यह संसार झाड़ और रुझा कर, यह संसार झाड़ रुझा कर, यह संसार झाड़ और रुझा। आग लगे जड़ी जाना है, जाना है, रही देना वीरा। जो कहत कभी ओ भई साधु, सतगुरु कबीर साहिब की जय।
पूजा गुरु को कीजिए सब पूजा जहिमान, जब जल सींचे मूल तिरु साका पत्रय गाय।
Right, but at this point in time, just pause for one couple of seconds, and we will start with the offering of malas, flowers. These are love offering that firstly the family members will do it, mom, and thereafter other members of the family, and then members of the audience who would like to do arti. Mahant Saheb here will, when you come, he will tell you the order in which, so that the arti procession will run very efficiently and smoothly and also safely. Okay, because and you have to watch your steps. Okay. So the bhajanias could go ahead. I know Hari was going to sing a song. You could go ahead and then you could go with RG if you want. Yeah, anything. Yeah. We have other bhajanias like Prem Ramlal, Saheb, Ghanshyamji, all line up to deliver any bhajan that the group may want them to do. Okay.
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भीत चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, भीत चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भीत चढ़ाओ अब की।
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भीत चढ़ाओ अब की। ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी, प्रीति करो सतगुरु चरण की।
ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी, प्रीति करो सतगुरु चरणन की।
ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी,
ममता छोड़ो मेरा सबकी,
प्रीत करो सतगुरु चरण की,
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती। आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की।
समीरन नाम नेम से करो, प्रेम सहित अनहर जन सुनो।
समीरन नाम नेम से करो, प्रेम सहित आनंद जन सुनो।
समीरन नाम नेम से करो, समीरन नाम नेम से
करो, प्रेम सहित अनहर गुण सुनो। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की।
सुन 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 फिर आगे चढ़ाओ, सहस कमाल ढलवानी बढ़ाओ।
सुन सुन धुन फिर आगे चढ़ाओ, सहस कमल ढलवानी पढ़ो।
सुन सुन धुन फिर आगे चढ़ाओ, सुन सुन धुन
फिर आगे चढ़ो,
सहस कमल ढलवानी बढ़ो।
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की।
आरती करो साहब की सतगुरु, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। कायम से तक आगे चलो, बंकनाल के भीतर घासो।
शाम से तक आगे चलो, बंकनाल के भीतर घासो।
स्वयं से के चलो, स्वयं से तक आगे चलो, बंकनाल घासो। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज
तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की।
वह से त्रिकुटी धाम तुम्हारो, ओम ओम संग बहुत पुकार।
से त्रिकुटी धाम सम्हारो, ओम संग बहुत पुकारो।
वह से त्रिकुटी धाम सहारो, वह से त्रिकुटी धाम सहारो, ओम संग बहुत पुकारो। आरती करो आज
सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की।
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। प्रारंभ दिन सरवर की, हंसन की जहाँ देखे भी।
अलंकार धुन सरती, हंसन की जहाँ देखे वीर।
अलंकार धुन सरवर की, अलंकार धुन सरवर
तीर,
की जहाँ देखी भी। पर जहाँ गंभीर सुरत निरत घस धरी सेठ पर जहाँ गंभीर
सेठ सेठ पर जहाँ गंभीर
सुरत निरत घस धारी आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती
करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की
जन्म जन्म की खाटी पी चन कर जहाँ नीर और की जन्म जन्म की खाटी पी चन कर जन्म जन्म की काटी पी
जन्म जन्म की काटी पीर
चाहन करी जहान की
आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की
आत्मयक्षर निरक निहारे महासन की करी तैयारी आत्मयक्षर
निरक निहारे
महासन की करी तैयारी आरती अक्षर निरक निहारी आत्म अक्षर निरक निहारी महासन की करी तैयारी आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अंधन गोर जहाँ करब सतबल से पार से ढारे अंड घोर जहाँ अति कर भारी सतगुरु बल से पार से ढारे अंड घोर जहाँ अति कर भारी अंध घोर जहाँ अति कर भारी सतगुरु बल से पार से ढारी आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की अवर गुफा पहुँचे एक चिन्ह में बंसी की धुन पर ही श्रवण में अवर गुफा पहुँचे एक चिन्ह में बंसी धुन पर ही श्रवण में भवर गुफा पहुँचे एक क्षण में भवर गुफा पहुँचे एक क्षण में बंसी की धुन पर ही श्रवण में आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की सोहंग सुनिए पुकार हंसन रूप देख उजियार सोहंग सुनिए पुकार हंसन पार सोहंग सोहंग सुनी पार हंसन रूप देख उजियार आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई वहाँ से चले अमर पर आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की अलख गमना कालिया जहाँ वीरस अद्भुत किया अलख गम का नाथ लिया जहाँ वीरस अद्भुत किया अलख गम का नाथ लिया अलख गम का नाथ लिया जहाँ वीरस अद्भुत दिया आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आगे को फिर सूरत धाई धाम नामी गई समाई आगे को फिर सूरत धाई धाम नामी गई समाई आगे को फिर सूरत धाई आगे को फिर सूरत धाई धाम नामी गई समाई आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ आरती करी बनाई दास कोई संत जनाई अभिद आरती करई बनाई फिर दास कोई संत जनाई अभिद आरती करई बनाई आरती करी बनाई फिर दास कोई संत जनाई आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की नहीं वहाँ थाल नदी पकवाती सदा आरती बहु विधि गाती नहीं वह थाल नदी पकवाती सदा आरती बहु विधि गाती नहीं वह थाल नदी पकवाती नहीं वह थाल नदी पकवाती सदा आरती बहु विधि गाती आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट
भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की चरण सेव चरणामृत पीती उमंग सहित प्रसादी लेती चरण सेव चरणामृत पीती उमंग सहित प्रसादी लेती चरण सेव चरणामृत पीती चरण सेव चरणामृत पीती उमंग सहित प्रसादी लेती आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की छिन छिन सतगुरु रूप निहारो पल पल सद्गुरु हृदय धारो छिन छिन सद्गुरु रूप निहारो पल पल सद्गुरु हृदय धारो छिन छिन सद्गुरु रूप निहारो छिन छिन सद्गुरु रूप निहारो पल पल सद्गुरु हृदय धारो आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी प्रीत करूं सद्गुरु चरणन की ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी प्रीत करूं सद्गुरु चरणन की ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी ममता छोड़ो मैं अब सबकी प्रीत करो सद्गुरु चरणन की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की सुमिरन ओम नेम से करो प्रेम सहित आनंद धुन सुनो सुमिरन नाम नेम से करो प्रेम सहित अनहद धुन सुनो सुमिरन नाम नेम से करो सुमिरन नाम करो प्रेम सहित अनहद धुन सुनो आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की सुन सुन धुन फिर आगे चढ़ो अवल पढ़ूं सुन सुन फिर आगे चढ़ो सुन सुन धुन फिर आगे चढ़ो सहस कवल दलवा आज सतगुरु की तन मन चढ़ाओ अब आरती करो आज सतगुरु धीर। श्वेत श्वेत पद जहाँ गंभीर, श्वेत श्वेत पद जहाँ गंभीर, सुरत निरत घस घारे धीर। आरती करूं आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करूं आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। जन्म जन्म की काटी तीर, छान करी जहानीर और कीर। जन्म जन्म की काटी तीर, छान करी जहानीर और कीर। जन्म जन्म की काटी तीर, जन्म जन्म की काटी पीर। छान करी जहानीर और कीर। आरती करूं आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करूं आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आत्म शरणि रख निहारे, महासुन की करी तैयारी। आत्म शरणि रख निहारे, महासुन की करी तैयारी। आत्म अक्षर निरख निहारी, आत्म अक्षर निरख निहारी। महासुन की करी तैयारी। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। अंध घोर जहाँ कर भारी, सद्गुरु बल से पार सिधारे। अंध घोर जहाँ कर भारी, सद्गुरु बल से पार सिधारी। अंध घोर जहाँ कर भारी, अंध घोर जहाँ कर भारी। सतगुरु बल से पार सिधारे। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। भंवर गुफा पहुँची क्षण में, बंसी की धुन पड़ी श्रवण में। भंवर गुफा पहुँची क्षण में, बंसी की धुन पड़ी श्रवण में। भंवर गुफा पहुँची क्षण में, भंवर गुफा पहुँची क्षण में। बंसी की धुन पड़ी श्रवण में। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, तन मन भेंट चढ़ाओ अब की। सोहन सोहन सुनी पुकार, हंस रूप देखो जियार। सोहन सोहन सुनी पुकार, हंस रूप देखो जियार। सोहन सोहन सुनी पुकार, सोहन सोहन सुनी पुकार। हंस रूप देखो जियार। आरती करो आज सतगुरु की, आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की
वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई
वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई
वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई
वहाँ से चली अमर पद आई सतनाम धुन बीन सुनाई आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ प्रभु की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की
अलख अगम काना कालिया जहाँ मीरस अद्भुत दिया
अलख अगम काना कालिया जहाँ मीरस अद्भुत किया
अलख अगम काना कालिया
अलख अगम काना कालिया जहाँ मीरस अद्भुत किया आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की
आगे को फिर सूरत भाई धाम अनामी गई समाई
आगे को फिर सूरत भाई राम नामी
गई समाई आगे को फिर सूरत भाई
आगे को फिर सूरत गाई राम नामी गाई समाई आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की
सुरत शब्द संग आई जाग सतगुरु मिले बड़े मेरे भाग
सुरत शब्द संग आई जाग सतगुरु मिले बड़े मेरे भाग सुरत शब्द संग आई जाग सुर शब्द संग आई जाग सतगुरु मिले बड़े मेरे भाग आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की आरती करो आज सतगुरु की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की तन मन भेद चढ़ाओ अब की
Hello, Saheb Saheb ki
जय
Brothers and sisters, as you can see, we have a whole lot of people lined up to do arti. Now, we don't want to stop anybody from doing arti. This is a expression of love. So, there's something called Desh Kal Anusar. Okay, in accordance with place, time and circumstances. So, we just got together and we made a decision that we wouldn't play the music or Liganta, but let everybody come, right? So we could get some other things going. There's a couple of things I want to share with you, like I say. My thoughts on some of the aspects of what our Guruji would have left for us, okay, as part of his legacy. You know, when Saheb had gotten injured, we were amazed at how he would have dealt with this type of situation. And I've known many people who were in similar situation, and they did not survive it for much longer than when the injury occurred. And we used to have a lot of discussions among the close devotees. And we found that his state of mind and how he operated, and he shared a saki with me. He said, "Pralabdh pehle bana, पीछे बना शरीर कबीर अचंबा है यही मान नहीं बांधे धीर." Swamiji is watching me very clearly there. It's like he got the meaning one time. He says that something that everyone has to face inevitably is that of destiny. And it was formed, and that destiny was formed before the body came into being. So we have configured, you are born in accordance with your karma. How you look, what family and all that. And Kabir says, Kabir Chamba here, he's surprised. It is surprising that knowing this, he said the mind has no patience. So our Guruji showed us. And I remember Shaman and I was talking, she said, Saheb is amazing. He has showed us how to deal with this type of suffering. It doesn't take an ordinary man to reach that level, I'm telling you. And that, we say, what is the lesson that Sahib is leaving us? How are Sahib is suffering? We want him to walk and go with us on drives and satsangs. But yet, he's singing every night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the night, we're singing bhajans. We sang out a whole book, some night. Whole book. And so he fully well understands that how to use the mind. There's another one, Deha Dareka Dand Sabka Ho Kahoi. Jnani bhoge jnana se murak bhoge roi. He says that once you take birth in this human body, you will come across some kind of suffering or the other. He said, but the jnani, what the jnani does with suffering? Yeah? He deals with suffering with knowledge. But the ignorant one, he always is crying. Have you all encountered people like that? So, he also says, Kabir Sahib has a wonderful saki, he says, a bhajan actually, sadhu ye murdo ka gaon. He said, we live in a village where everybody is dying. It sometimes, these days, you hear COVID go around, and then you see the doctors dying who are trying to save the patients. So he said, Peer mare paigambar mari hai zinda jogi. Raja mari hai, praja mari hai ved or a rogi. He said the saints have died, the God messengers have died, the yogis who making you exercise to live longer, he and all died. The kings have died, the subjects have died, the healers and the sick person have also died. So Sahib said, don't fear death. He has quoted this saki over and over while he was sick. He says, Jis marne se jag dare, mera man anand, marne se hi paaye, purana paramanand. And the meaning is that this death that the whole world seems to fear is a source of joy to me. He said, but supreme bliss, purana paramanand, awaits the one who has discovered the art of dying. And philosophy inquires and investigates and brings solution. So the saints tell you, you were born to learn how to die so that you could begin to live. In other words, it's the death that gives life its meaning. If you didn't have to die anyway, you find people living without any direction. So he says that you have to discover the art of dying. That was the first time I heard Sahib as an expression like that. What does this mean? Learn to die while you live. So he says that you must know where you're going before you die, so that after you die, you won't get into a lost realm and hang upside down like a bat in a dark cave. So I will use those kinds of expression. He says, Marte marte jag moa, avsar moa na koi. अवसर पर जो ये मरे फिर नहीं मरने हुए. What they came, and he forgot he quoted that, and he quoted it again, and then he quoted it again. So I say he's trying to tell us something. He said people are dying in colloquial expression. He said they are dying over and over again and none has learned to die properly. So you see Saheb suffering there. Mom was saying that's just the body and mind. He's saying that's the body and mind. Mom, that's the body and mind. The soul don't suffer. So you must transition the various planes of consciousness in this human body while you're alive. Jivatahe karuasa santu. Jivatahe karuasa. You know, moksha and liberation is attained only in this human body while you're alive. False are those prophets who say it can be only when you die. This is the teachings of Satguru Kabir Sahib. And our Guruji will always share with us very potent saki. कहाँ से आया जीव यहाँ किसमें जाई समाई कौन दौर चढ़ ही चला कहूँ मुझे समझ आए. How did the jeev get into this body? Did you find out? How is going to make it exit? Where is going to go? This is the question the Saki is asking. So this is a fundamental, probing, vichari type of question that you must ask yourself while you are living. And you become what you call mudhamati, an ignorant person who will live his life and not inquire into what is the source of his own existence. So Kabir Sahib's eternal message is really to discover this truth. Ishvara ans, jiva vinash. You are part, indestructible part of God. Don't go looking for him all over. He's right in your heart. You can't take out your heart, he says, and take it to the mandir or the masjid. He's right there. Moko kahan donde bande, मैं तो तेरे पास में. Where dost thou? Lo, I am beside thee, Sadguru Kabir Sahib saying. On the subject of seeing your country, seeing where you're going, there's a beautiful bhajan that says, Santo, so nij desh hamara. One of Nehru Sahib's favorite bhajan. Jahan jai fir hans na aave, bhav sagar ke dhara. O saint, such is our country. On reaching there, the liberate soul does not return to the whirlpool of delusion. This translation is, by the way, Sahib translation. And according to Sadguru Kabir Sahib, there's something called, he sang a bhajan. Hajur Sahib sent a bhajan recently, and he said, Surati se dekh, le wohi desh. Dikat dikat dikan alage, mit gaye sakala andesh. He says that by looking, see that country with your surati. And by looking, the darkness goes away. So these, I thought, were snippets of some of the things I wrote down over the years from our Guruji. And they have been etched indelibly in my mind. So I thought that it will be good justice to his legacy if I share them with you today. Bolo Sadguru Kabir Sahib ki jai. Right, so one of the other things that we have is we have a couple of speakers, right? And I think I want to commend all those who are going for RT. They are doing it with such poise, you know, and dignity and quietude and stuff like that. So we can, maybe I could take the mic to the speakers. We have some wonderful speakers. Our Guruji, since I've known him, he has always been a person as part of the universal integration movement. He always said that Sadguru Kabir Sahib does not believe in contraction, but expansion. And our Guruji reminds me of Swami Chinmayananda, who in my early days I used to follow a lot. Then I met Kabir Sahib. So I want to ask Dinesh, I will take this mic, I'll take it across there. And Dinesh could stand so that we could have some parallel activities without denying people to do arti. Okay? And Dinesh Das is the president of the Kabir Panth Association, the first Kabir Panth organization to register in Trinidad and Tobago, who has 2 schools running. And Dinesh is a big fan of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib, and also
Sahib in front of the mic. Maybe I could go up to the stage. I could, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Bangi Sahib, members of the immediate family, Mahants, Swamiji, Mataji, as well as Didiji from the Brahma Kumaris, extended family, friends, and devotees of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib. I am standing here and with mixed emotions, as Kumar Sahib said earlier, because Sahib had a very, very intense sense of humor. I remembered, and I wanted to start with this because I think it will give me some strength to get through the entire short sharing with you this afternoon. We were at satsang, Hajur Sahib Ji was here, and we were at the home of Sudesh and his family in Pinel. And there were these folding chairs, the white folding chairs, so don't be too afraid, not these that you're sitting on. And a gentleman was sitting on one, and it fell and completely fell apart, and the guy was flat on the ground. So everybody was very concerned and so on. And I was sitting next to Sahib. And he turned to me very quietly and said, "Don't feel sorry for the guy, feel sorry for the chair." And when he saw the state of the chair, I think it disassembled itself. I always remember that because he would make me laugh very often. And the last experience I had is when I came to visit him after the accident he had, and he was on the bed. And I first of all want to congratulate his family for taking such great care of him, and from what I've seen, and then really that very touching gesture of the 3 nights of satsang that you all conducted, where you all rolled him out in the hospital bed and had him here to witness. I just found out it was just tremendous. I know you don't applaud at funerals and things, but I had to mention that because it really did touch me very much. Sahib Ji was, as you know, some of you who don't know, he's also a very close relative of mine. My Aji considered him as a son. He grew up in Chandanagar, or Chandanagar, he would say. It corrected me on many occasions. And his last discourse with me right here a few weeks ago was to tell me the meaning of how that name came about, Chandanagar, which is from a village in India, and where they would plant and harvest the trees to make chandan. And that is really the name that they collected, they brought to Trinidad so many years ago. Always in teaching and educating, and that was his calling, because he began his first career, for those of you who don't know, was in teaching at our very first KPA school in Siparia, or Siparia. Somebody corrected me too with that. I don't know if it's Siparia or Siparia. We'll figure that out after. But I also believe this is where he met Momji, and they both started to teach at that school. In fact, we have one of his students here one of his very first students, Mr. Bim Singh, who turned out to also be a teacher and was one of the best, I would say, in my humble opinion, one of the best principals we've had in that school. He started the career there, and of course he contributed so much to the life of the Kabir movement, I would say, in the Western world. And I also saw that his contributions are so heartfelt, for the contributions made to the Kabir Panth Association specifically. There are many documents in our archives that we have his name, his signature as General Secretary. Mom G was also there, and they were so instrumental in helping put together the Constitution and all of the things. So the legacy that Saheb has left us is one, as I always say, it's huge shoes to fill. But we can only build on that. And so it is with great gratitude that I stand here to say that he has given us a gift of this Kabir movement in the Western world. And I want to really extend, my continued support and condolences to the family. And really and truly, there's not much more I can say, because if I wrote a letter to Prem Saheb, and I told him it's one page, but it doesn't do justice in any way to the life that Saheb Ji has lived. And I want to really pay tribute to him, and I think the greatest tribute we can all pay is by building on this great legacy that Saheb Ji has given us, his greatest gift. Bangi Sahib.
Okay, you could ask if anybody who want to do. Okay. Bolo Satguru Kabir Sahib ki jai. Okay, so we have just a couple of more speakers, but there's a parallel activity, something called Jholi. It's a bag that Sahib is going to carry, and it's really symbolic of sort of a nullifying any kind of a karmic debt he has with any of you. I doubt Sahib could ever be vexed with anybody. Or anybody could be vexed with he. Right? So that already nullified. Right? He has burnt out everything. With that sort of pressure he got the last couple of months, he had to burn out more karma than for all of us, somebody devotees to, I think. So, but this is just offering of love, to say your prayers. Right? And prayers is something, Sahib have a bhajan, he say, if an ants put on a gungru, Sahib will hear that. He say, Sahib tera bera na jane koi. He said, nobody understands your mystery. He operates very deftly in the mind of everybody, and you don't even know. Sahib is working in your mind, like a potter, pressing inside and tapping you on the outside and giving you a little pressure. And you will be complaining. You never say, thank you, Sahib. Sahib is to say, when you get problem, always say, Sahib, thank you, give me some more. So hard me a little bit. So forgive me, I get distracted. When one thing out was Sahib, I go on the next thing all over, because there's so much volume inside my head. So this Jholi is going to pass around. So it's just about, we typically will say, this is an act that they can't do. They don't have the hands and they can't walk around. But the Sahibs and the representatives of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib, when we stand here, it's not we. We don't say, well, I am Kumar Sahib and this is Mahant Varadev Dukam. We are representing, right, Sadhguru Kabir Sahib here, right? So we have to be very careful how we speak, where we place our feet, what we are doing. So we are doing that, right, for our Guruji, right? Be it mechanically as it may look, but it carries a great symbolism when it concerns your thought, your thinking process. It is there where love grows and comes out from your heart and flows out through your thoughts and everything. So this here is a symbolic thing where you're going to give your love to Sahib. If you have any Sahib, I didn't do enough satsang, you could say that. I didn't do enough meditation, although you instructed us, you could say that. I want to do some, Sahib, you have gone now. Things like that now. Sahib, we love you, things like that. And point out, and don't feel that he would not sense that. He has a different kind of instrumentation with the subtle realm that he's existing right now. And he did say that he'll be looking on. So he wants everybody to smile, okay? So I want to now call, we'll have Sister Jasmine, who is the president of the Raj Yoga Center in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to ask her just to come and give a few words. Sahib has been a close friend. Yes, she will put the flowers, and Sister Hemlata will speak. Okay, Jasmine, Sister Jasmine is going to speak, okay. So you're going to put the flowers. Okay. So I will always attend any function that they ask him to come. And he said, go, please go. If you can't go, Prem and I will probably go, and Karen, there is somebody. So this is how he is. He was. So the flowers, you just take a little bit and say your prayers, and you will put the flowers in the jholi. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sahib Ji, Bandagi, Sahib, Om Shanti, Namaste. I'd like to acknowledge Swamiji. I'd like to say on behalf of our spiritual head, Sister Dr. Hemlata, and the Brahma Kumari's family of Trinidad and Tobago, I'd like to extend our deep love and spiritual support at this time to Mom Ji, to Prem Saheb, Mahant Sahebs, and Sharon and Shamin, and all the devotees and well-wishers who are present here today. It is indeed a time of reflection to see a great one who would have lived a full and satisfying life and would have inculcated values and virtues of life. His dharana was so great. His dharma was great. And he performed great karmas that today he would have earned such a spiritual income from his spiritual endeavor and efforts that he will take with him on his onward journey for the future birth. And listening to our dear Sahib here speaking, the question is, are we aware what he's leaving for us or what he has left for us? Can we take a lesson out of his book for our own lives? He is gone, but we are left behind. And what are we going to do to improve the quality of our lives from the legacy he would have left? And this is a question we need to deeply reflect on at this moment. We are here. Some leave just before others, some leave after, but we all have to leave. And we just don't want to live an ordinary life. We want to live a life as Sahib Ji did, through inculcating such virtues and values of life, through spirituality, that every word we speak, every thought we have, every action we do, we will earn a spiritual income, which we can take with us. Today, he's not taking anything physically. As the great Alexandra the Great said, when I die, leave my hands out of the coffin so everyone will see I didn't take anything. He's not taking anything. What he's taking with him is his good karma. And things which we can only take is that. The friends and relatives and money just take up to the cremation site, but that goes with on eternally. And one has to take time and think, what is one thing I need to do after this funeral that I can improve the quality of my life practically? And just reflect for a moment. How do I spend my day? I can spend my day ordinarily, but if I can spend my day in a very fruitful way by remembering God. There are two things in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Man manabhav, remember me. God is saying, remember me with your mind, belong to me with your mind. But how much do we really want to belong to God and remember Him with our mind? We want to do so to such an extent that we cause God to remember us. And then we can claim the inheritance of happiness, which is heaven. We need to be able to live that life and experience heaven inside us through the example set by our dear Saheb and everyone else who would have lived a life as a spiritual leader or any good life, and take that as part of us and be able to use it and make it fruitful in our life. He's talking about people are not dying well, they're dying halfway. He has gone fully, right? Will you say so? Yes. But we need to die alive. Whilst in the body, we need to be dead from all the attractions of the world at this time. Time is drawing nearer. If we are looking at the world, we can see the signs of it. And we can't just take it for granted. So it's a deep message for all of us at this time. Let's take heed. Let's see if we can improve one thing in our lives on a daily basis and inculcate one of the virtues our dear Sahib Ji would have left with us. I'd like to ask you to engage with me for a minute in meditation at this time, which is the best we can do to spread vibrations of peace to this dear soul on its onward journey. As you sit comfortably or stand wherever you are, just internalize your thoughts by thinking, who am I? I come to realize I am a soul, a divine spark of light in this body. I existed long before I entered this body. I am in this body now, and I will continue to exist even after leaving this body, as the soul of Sahib Ji will continue to exist thereafter. Thus, realizing the soul is eternal. Let's go deep within ourselves, and in a moment of deep silent reflection, rediscover the peace within. Think and feel, I am a peaceful soul. I listen to the silence within me. This is the silence that gives power, the power of peace. In this state of peace, I take my thoughts upwards to God the Supreme, the Father of all souls. Feeling God's energy, His blessings penetrating all of us, purifying us, uplifting us. And let us at this moment give the best wish to this dear leader, Father, soul, deep from our heart, that he would take on his onward journey, freeing him from all obstacles. Let's feel God's blessings, peace, and power. And let's give our best wishes to our dear, loving Sahib Ji on his onward journey. May peace be to this dear soul and all of us. Om Shanti. Vandagi Sahib.
Thank you very much, Sister Jasmine. Very wonderful words. Brothers and sisters, I'm sure you all have recognized that Swamiji is with us. Well, of course, he has a very conspicuous color compared to his ocean of white. That's because we have to recognize him. So I want to call Swamiji, since we was the Anand ashram there, and he was very simple little ashram, and he was building this huge institution there. I also always wonder, where does he get his power? And then after one day in a discourse, he said, he has no banking account, personal banking account. And I remember Swamiji, he was giving an illustration, I want to share it, because it has some wisdom. He said, wealth is like a butterfly in a garden. I don't know, he don't know, I remember that. He said, if you run on the butterfly, you can't catch it. But if you sit quiet, the butterfly comes and sit on your shoulder. Like that. So don't run it down and don't feel greed. Right? Be charitable in your disposition, and you will see you will always be happy with a little bit of money. The same way the greedy man would be happy with a plenty money. Okay? And that'll get him in trouble. So I want to call Swamiji, who will tell you a little bit and share a little bit of thoughts on our Sahebji and how he feels on his passing. Bolo Sadguru Kabir Sahib ki jai.
Bandagi Sahib. Pranams to Mahant, to Prem Sahib, and to the whole family, and extend my condolences to all. I know whenever there is any meeting of Sahib's followers and devotees, everybody is always wearing white. And I wanted to wear white, but me a Hanon. And dressing for me is really easy. I just close my eye and pull out one. Some ladies in the ashram were deciding what to wear for the coming wedding. There was a wedding in the ashram. And I was passing. They said, Swamiji, what you wearing? One thing only. About 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago, it means Sahib would have been about 83, 84, around there, right? I was having a yatra from the temple in the sea in Waterloo to our ashram in Makbeen. And I told everybody we will have this yatra, we'll all walk and we'll maintain silence and all of that sort of thing. And suddenly, Sahib showed up. So I say, Sahib, Bandagi Sahib, how are you doing? He said, I come to walk. No, 83, 84, I come to walk. I said, where? He said, from here to there. I said, you sure? You walk? He said, yeah. I said, Sahib, if something happen, I don't want anything to happen, If something happen. He said, don't worry about that now. If anything happen, all the hands will go, the shell will fall. And in just one line, he teaches so much about the teachings of Sadguru Kabir Sahib, that, as all the speakers said previously, and Prem Sahib, our Kumar Sahib also said, that the body, it is coming and going. We take bodies over and over and over. But we leave this body and we go into another body. And who is the one who is going? The one who is going is eternal, and everybody has been using the word also, the Jiva. The Jiva is eternal. He moves on to another body, and he continues. And this morning I read a wonderful line where Kabir Sahib says that Aise hi marahu, die in such a way that Bahuri na marana. die in such a way that we never have to die again. All of us die in such a way that we keep on dying. And with what Sahib told me there 10 years ago, and what I read this morning, I want to tell you this very important message. And I implore all the people of the Kabir Panth Association, and the Kabir Satyanidhi, and all the followers of Kabir Sahib. Kabir Sahib has written and has taught a most fundamental philosophical tradition about the imperishable, avinashi nature of the one who is dwelling inside his body, and the journey that that one goes through, and all of that. And I implore everybody to really get into the heart of this teaching, because this is a fundamental teaching that is going to free every jiva from the thraldom of sansar, bondage, birth and death. And if we can really imbibe the teachings which Sahib emulated, was the living example for all of us, if we can imbibe that teaching of Kabir Sahib, we'll surely meet our destiny of mukti also. Kabir Sahib spoke about mukti, moksha all the time. And we don't have, as speakers previously have said, we don't have to go looking here and there, everywhere in the world, running up and down. It is right inside. So, what he said about the imperishable nature of the jiva, and what I read in the Sakhi, saying that we should die in such a way that we never have to die again, it involves this thing. Life, very small message I will just tell. Life has a counterpart. The counterpart of life is death. Life does not come without death. Life cannot come without death. It always comes with death. Just like every atom has electrons, which are negative charges, and protons, which are positive charges. Every atom is like that. So also, in this existence, this phenomenal existence, which all of us are experiencing, it has life, and it also has death. And what is interesting, all of us think that we die only after 60, 70, 80 years. But the fact of the matter is, while we are living every moment, we are also dying every moment. Correct or not? Every second that ticks on your clock, it is taking you closer to Yamaraj. Correct? So while we are living, we are also dying. Just like the atom has the negative and the positive. These two, they always are together. And what Kabir Sahib says in the Sakhi is, I should die in such a way that I am not born in this world and again have to die. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. I should not die like that. So then what is the meaning? The meaning is, while living, while in this body, I should attain mukti. I should attain enlightenment, mukti, whatever name you want to call it by. While living, and I love so much how Kumar Sahib said that if anybody dreams of having mukti after death, that is only a dream, and dreams are not real. There is no such thing as mukti after death. While living, if we don't strive, if we don't exert, if we don't put effort to attain mukti while living, there is no such thing as. But death is not a qualification for mukti. Life is. So we have to strive, and in this organization especially, members of this organization has to go nowhere else to look for any teaching, because everything is right here. What a most wonderful and complete teaching of Kabir Sahib. So live in such a way that in this life, right here and right now, we gain mukti based on the fundamental teachings of Kabir Sahib, and make your life exemplary as our dear Sahib Ji made his life exemplary, an example for all of us. He inspired me so much also during the years I have met him. I have never seen him angry. I don't know if any. See, I told when I met him, he was already 70. So before that, he may have gotten angry. I don't know. But when I met him, since I met him, I have never seen him. One little fella is telling another one in the school. He said, man, this morning we made a mistake. And instead of giving Farah cornflakes to eat, we gave him soap flakes to eat. So the other boy says, what, he wasn't angry? He said, angry, man, he was frothing from his mouth. But all of us get angry very, very fast for everything. But I have never seen Sahib angry. So this is a first step, if we can take that example from his life. And we start charting our path to mukti by giving up Kam, Krodh, Mad, Lobh, Ityadi, all these things like that, you see? So we take that lesson from that page from his life and we work towards our mukti. He has worked towards his. So it is going to be no use to all of us. Sahib worked towards his mukti and he got mukti and all of us are still bound. We are supposed to take that as an example, isn't it? All right. So with these few words, I implore everybody, take the teachings of this wonderful tradition and give it life. Attain mukti in this life itself. All right. Bandagi Sahib.
Bolo Satguru Kabir Sahib ki jai. So you see why Sahib is a close friend. Have Swamiji as a friend? I have Swamiji as a friend, but you know, if I get a little closer, I could get some of that gyan. Okay, so we said we want to leave here at 3:30. We have one or two people, right? And I really need to give them an opportunity just to say a couple of words, right? And now it's about 10 past. We have Suresh Ramlogan, who is the head of Science of Spirituality in Trinidad organization. It's an organization that Sahib brought into Trinidad, right? And Suresh will tell you just a little bit about any story with Sahib, yeah? Okay.
Bandagi Sahib, all protocol observed, just in interest of time. And to the family, I'd like to express our deepest condolences on behalf of Science of Spirituality and on behalf of myself and my family. You know, I would have met Sahib about 34 years ago. And when I met him, you know, it was through an accident. And I had to take Nadra. We were playing tennis. And she fell, and she said, well, the only person who we could go to is her guru, Sahib. So this happened in UAE. He was living at Valsian at the time. And she took me there. But immediately, on meeting him, I found something special in this personality. You know, and at the time, I was probably at a crossroads in what I want to do. You know, and I was on this spiritual quest, dabbling in different religions, different meditation societies, and all of that. And I met Sahib, and that was it. After, you know, and after about a year, I was invited to a satsang by Nadra to Sahib House, and there, it went well from there. So in reflecting, when Kumar asked me just now to say a few words, I sat down and I reflected. And I recall a conversation I had with my father-in-law, or at least part of it. And he mentioned to me, he said, B is birth and D is death. They are close together. So he said, connect the dots. But what connect B and D? It's C. And if you look at C and you reflect on Saheb life, I have 3 C's. And that 3 C's is community, commune, and communication. And community, from the time I met Saheb, his home was always like a community. He opened his home for everybody. You were free to go and come, all the time. He moved from Valsain to the ashram, which was even more public. And then from the ashram to here. And if you notice, this is like an ashram. It's not Prem or Shamo home. It's an ashram. We are free to go and come. But more than that, he made that community, a community that commune. And when I mean commune, he led his life in such a way, by example, of developing the 5 ethical virtues. Almost every speaker here today talk about Saheb not getting angry, non-violence, humility, truthfulness, truth. He live a chaste life, never overindulge in anything. Right? And my definition of chastity is overindulgence in anything. If you overindulge, you are unchaste. He never overindulged, probably overindulged in satsang, but you can't overindulge in that. And selfless service. Saheb is a person, especially when he was younger, you have a problem no matter what time of the night and where. He will move. Even at 75, he would drive from here to beach, and all of that, to provide satsang. And most of all, he teaches us to communicate, and communicate not with language, but communicate with the soul, which is, the most important communication, a languageless communication. He always gave the example, how you could communicate without language, and how language keeps back that communication. So if we, as chelas of Saheb, live that example he set, then our lives would be much better. And I'd like to leave you with this. When you're born, nobody asks when Kumar will come in. They would ask when the baby will be born. So you're born without a name, and you're born without clothes. When you are born, somebody bathed you. And when you die, you live the same way. When the body, and we don't refer to the body as Deochan does. We ask when the body is coming, when they are cremating the body. And the last thing that they do for the body is again bathe and clothe the body at the funeral home. So, and we come without anything, and we leave without anything. So, let us get rid of the attachments that we have in this world and live these 3 C's that Saheb lived. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Suresh. I don't know who said you can't clap at a funeral, huh? Those kinds of rules worries me a little bit. Okay, so we have 2 speakers, okay, and I know they promised me they're going to be very short. Not by words, though. So I know I have Anur. Is Anur still here? And we have Tenzing, Mr. Tenzing Ramlakan from the BVS. BVS rep. I'm not sure what his position is, but you know, Saheb is a student, has always been a student of Bharatiya Shastriya Sangeet. I hope I have it right there. Okay, Indian classical music, and so has all his children. And Ankit is very astute musician now, teaching also, and got that inspiration from Saheb. Okay, so I want to call on Mr. Ramlakan, and then if Arnold is still here, well, let's ask him to grace us. He's a member of parliament for this area here, County Central.
Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Members of the bereaved family of Dr. Deochan Das, Srimati Deochan Das, Prem Bhaiji, Sharmila Bahinji, Ankit Bhaiji, Sharon Bahinji, I might have seen, Leela Bahinji, and all members of the Das family, all Mahant of Satya Kabir Nidhi and Kabir Panth Association, our respected Dr. Lata Bahinji, head of Brahma Kumaris, Prakashanand Saint, Swamiji, head of, I don't have to say head of Chinmaya, I have to say head of the university. It's growing, it's going to be one day soon. Respected leaders of the society, villagers, bhai aur behno, namaste, Bandagi Saheb. I am here to extend condolences not only to the family but to the extended family of Satya Kabir Nidhi and the entire community because of the tremendous loss that we have suffered. I am here to represent the co-founder of Bharati Vidya Sansthan, Reverend Guru Mataji, Dr. Nirmala Adesh, and her two children who are thinking about you at this time, Guru Pandit Vivek Shankar Adesh and Pandita Surabhi Adesh Govardhan. And I extend these heartfelt sympathies on behalf of the President and Executive of Bharati Vidya Sansthan. Just yesterday, I was speaking with our President, Pandit Harish Maharaj, and he put it so beautifully. He said, you know, Dr. Deochan Das is like the honey in Panchamrit. I said, wow, very beautiful, very beautiful. So just this morning also I got a phone call from New York. Bhai Anand Sahabir, he asked me specifically to extend on behalf of all BVS members of New York and Texas, Orlando, and Canada to extend their condolences to Prem Bhaiji and family. So Mahant, Dr. Deochan Das, he was very close, very, very close to our Guruji, Professor Adish. And Dr. Das was a tremendous supporter and an ardent and devoted Shishya of Guruji. In fact, both of them taught at Ashram College in the 70s. And not only at Ashram College, he taught also at the classes of Bharati Vidya Sansthan. He was a volunteer teacher in BVS, teaching Hindi and, I believe, music. But that was not all. His contribution extended to our annual cultural training camp, which in those days, I would have to say in his days, was held at the 7 Days Adventist Youth Camp at Balandra. And those of us who had the great opportunity to attend those camps remember his not just wonderful, but mellifluous rendition of the Sakhis of Kabir in our Aradhana session, our interfaith session at our camp. And then in 2001, Dr. Deochan Das and his daughter, Sharon Bahinji, they played a key role in organizing, jointly with Guruji, Professor Adish, and the BVS, two very large international conferences, one on Sant Kabir and the other on Hindi language. Both of these were extremely successful conferences. Attendees came from India, from the UK, from Romania, as I recall, from Canada, the US, and also from Suriname. With these very few and short words of reflection on the contribution of Dr. Deochan Das, we remember, we recall, and we thank, we are very grateful, not only to him but his entire family, for allowing him to contribute to our founder of BVS, Professor Adish, over a period of many decades, and to contribute to all the achievements of Bharati Vidya Sansthan for the past 50 years or so. But we know that amongst us, we heard a lot of how to die while living. The truth of the matter is that not only Dr. Deochan Das was a perfect example, but the reality is, the truth is that we have amongst us many, many, many such examples. Swamiji, Brahma Kumari representatives, and we are lucky in this country. We are very fortunate to have such luminaries of spirituality. So with these few words, we recognize that in BVS, that he has gone, but he has left behind, and he is alive in his children, through his grandchildren. His work is continuing. With these few words, and I heard one very beautiful bhajan before, Rehna nahi de se birana hai. So it is true. We do not have permanent residence status here. It is at the feet of Sadhguru, as Kabir Saheb says. With these few words, I thank you for your attention. Bahut bahut dhanyabad. Bahut bahut dhanyabad. Bandagi Sahib.
Okay, brothers and sisters, thank you, Mr. Ramlakan, for your really wonderful words. Okay, brothers and sisters, we just have one item again, right? And that is like I would say, a distillation of many of the things that you all said. And that's going to be presented in a eulogy of the life of, dealing with the life of our beloved Guruji from a perspective of a daughter. Okay, and after that, we'll prepare, okay, some activities. Who's want to view the body and all that, we will allow. And we will go straight to the Prisal Cemetery. Okay? Okay, yeah, so Joy is suggesting just for time, if those who want to do any little for often while she's reading her eulogy, very quietly you can do so. Okay, Sharanji?
बोले सदगुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। सत्यनाम, बंदगी साहिब, नमस्ते, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, सीताराम, हरिओम, Om Shanti, and a good afternoon to each and every one of you. We have a little problem because they said they wanted to leave at 3:30. And it's now 3:27. But my father was known in the BVS camp as the no problem man. And so I guess we don't really have a problem. So I will go ahead with this presentation. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahm, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. My beloved family of our revered Guru Sahib Shree Mahant, 108 Dr. Deochan Ji, respected dignitaries and representatives of the various organizations, our spiritual family of Kabir Pantis, both here in Trinidad and Tobago and those abroad, my dear brothers and sisters, it is indeed a great comfort to all of us to have your presence with us on this auspicious day. This great honor of eulogizing my dad, our Sahib, has been given to me, the youngest of his 4 children. But the question is, how can a mere drop express the greatness of the ocean? Sadhguru Kabir Sahib says, Sab dharti kagaj karu, likhne sab ban raye. Saath samundra ki masi karu, guru gun likha na jaye. If all the earth was to be made into paper, and all the forests into a pen, and all of the oceans into ink, one still cannot write or extol what is the greatness of Guru. In my humble attempt to celebrate Sahib's life, I will share some glimpses of how I witnessed his life myself and relay some profound memories that were recalled by his family, and I will also include some of Sahib's choice sakhis, for which he is well known. I ask for his guidance, compassion, his strength, and his forgiveness for any mistakes that I may make. Most of this is before 1970. So we'll start with the 1950s. Actually, I was listening to see if there's anything I could delete. And I actually didn't have to because it was before time. So anyway, some of this you will be hearing for the first time. Sahib was a lover of music, no surprise, and singing long before his formal training at the Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan. In fact, our mom, our beloved Guru Mataji, shared the story with me about their first meeting. So just setting the scene, the year is 1952 or thereabouts. when you get old, you kind of miss the years, Think of a classic black and white Bollywood love story unfolding. A young teenage girl, very spiritually inclined, attends a musical event with her friends featuring the Naya Zamana Orchestra. They begin playing a hit tune from the movie Pyar Ki Jeet, which means the victory of love, or Sahib would say love always wins. This young girl is not able to see who is the lead singer, but his voice captivates her interest. She thinks to herself, he can really sing that song beautifully. I'll just give you a little snippet of what that sounded like. If I were to demonstrate that in Sahib's style, his shoulder would be going like this. So this is how their journey began. Well, while their paths were briefly separated, a few years later, that same young man came to teach at the Kabir Pant Association School in Siparia, where she met him in person for the first time. She quickly recognized him by his voice, which had so captured her on that musical night. It is like Prince Charming looking for Cinderella with the shoes, so he had to look at the foot, but she had to listen for the voice. She was the princess looking for her Prince Charming. Mom and Sahib were married on June 1st, 1957. Unlike their Bollywood-style beginning, this was no ordinary event by any stretch. The least of which being their differences in religion. As many of you know, Mom is from Muslim background. But 65 years later, 4 kids, 6 grandkids, and 2 great-grandkids, there's no question that this unity was designed to be extraordinary. Prem gali ati sakari, thamai do na samai, jab mai tha tab hari nahi, ab hari hai mai nahi. Sadhguru Kabir Sahib says, the lane of love is so narrow that there is only room for one to pass. If I am there, God is not. If God is there, I am not. Our revered Sahibji was and always be our God, and without him, we are not. So moving on in the years 1957 to 1967, or thereabouts, they trekked to England and back. So this was their first big trip together. Sahib took his bride with him to England with the blessings and support of his father-in-law and close family. And actually, his new bride told her parents that this was the person she loved because Sahib was a little resistant. And so her father made the decision that it must be so. Well, Sahib met his match, I think. The England years produced many new life experiences for Sahib and Mom. Aside from the 4 kids, Sahib achieved his doctorate in both naturopathy and osteopathy, and Mom pursued psychiatric nursing. However, after about 9 years or so, they decided to return to Trinidad and Tobago to be closer to family and to raise their kids in a different cultural environment. Well, plus that the place was very cold and gray. 1967 to 1980, the Sangre Grande years. So this had to be our most impactful years as a family. One of my favorite memories of this time was going to meet Sahib at the Trinidad Hilton, where he used to work as a masseuse. I remember him saying that his boss would say, "You just touch the people and they fall asleep." What kind of massage is this? Sahib would be working there late on a Friday, and I recall Mom would make hot chocolate and bake bread with cheese and cauliflower. and she will pack all of us with the food into the car and drive us to the Hilton to meet with Saheb on a Friday night. And on the way back, as if that was not enough, we would stop in and take in a movie at the drive-in, the highway drive-in in Curep. So that was a very happy memory for me. My brother Mohan recalled that Saheb taught us all to swim in the cold waters of the Valencia River. Saheb would wake us up in the wee hours of the morning, 5 a.m. This was something Mohan said he looked forward to. So much so that one day he was deeply disappointed when Saheb left without him because he did not get up in time. And to this day, guess what? Mohan is always early. Mom and Saheb owned 2 businesses in Sangre Grande, the Das Driving School and the Natural Health Center. We knew that Saheb was dedicated to his trade, but according to Mom, he was not the money-making type of businessman. In fact, all he really wanted to do was share his knowledge and teach people as long as they were willing to learn. As Mom recalls, he would sometimes even teach people to drive for free because he refused to take bribes from the instructors, from the examiners to pass his students. You know, that's still a thing today. And well, you know that means the business go boss. But for Saheb and Mom, there was no compromising their belief in truth and service. The Sangre Grande years also represented Saheb's coming in contact with the Bharatiya Vidya Sansthan and our late revered Guruji, Professor H.S. Adesh, and his family. He first met them through the driving school, giving them driving lessons. And with Mom's encouragement and the impetus of having the kids involved in meaningful activities, he was drawn to the music and Hindi classes of the BVS. And of course, eventually the Balandra camps. The BVS family held and continues to hold a very special place in the hearts of Mom and Saheb and the entire family. Oh, and by the way, one little correction, you know, people mistake Shamin and I a lot, so it was Shamin who did those programs with the BVS, not me. But I probably look older because now I have gray hair and she has black hair, although she's actually older. Anyway, I told Saheb I was trying to match him and he just laughed. Of course, we know I can't do that, right? Anyway, in the Sangre Grande years and as a result of BVS, Saheb and Mom started working on the English translations of many of Kabir Saheb's works. And that has led to Mom producing what we now fondly call Mom's Compendium, which really encapsulates the spiritual work that they did over the years. So it was from Sangre Grande that Saheb became more involved with the Kabir Panth Association and, as you have heard before, was president for some years. His name was often abbreviated to Prezi Sahib, particularly by our Beat Satsangis family. And it was in Sangre Grande that Sahib was ordained also as a Mahant of the Kabir Panth by Shree Ek Sau Aath Hazur Udit Nam Sahib. And from then, the yagnas, the weekly satsangs, the music, the Hindi classes, this all began. So fast forward again a little bit into the late 80s and 90s. Life took many turns, but at the top of the list was always that search for the highest spiritual treasures and truths, which led Saheb to encounter different religious and spiritual groups. During these years, Mom and Saheb came in contact with the Raja Yoga Center under the leadership of Dr. Himlata, and a very deep friendship with the whole Raja Yoga family began. In fact, the entire family. And actually, you know, this is Saheb. Anybody he meets, that becomes his family, right? He was that kind of person. He never lost anybody. When we got married, he said, oh, I got another son, I got another daughter. The science of spirituality was another very major milestone for Saheb during these years as he continued to pursue his passion for the teachings of Sadguru Kabir Sahib. Actually, just 2 nights ago, we received a very comforting and gracious call from the living master, Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj and Mataji, extolling Sahib's love for Sadhguru Kabir Sahib, as expressed especially through bhajan and music. He also endorsed, as many of you have also done here today, and in all the messages from all the devotees, that Sahib has gone to a very, very high place and a very far place. And of course, our revered Hazur Ardhanam Sahib of Sadhguru Kabir Prakatya Dham in Lahartara, Varanasi, India, expressed, and I'll just put this small snippet, I have a feeling of irreparable loss, he said. He used to explain the Vanis of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib to the new generation in a simple way. And I pray that such a sanctimonious soul will be bestowed with immortality in Satyalok. Soon after, Sahib formed the Satya Kabir Nidhi to continue the work of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib in order to spread the teachings of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib far and wide, and especially among the youth and the English-speaking seekers. Many travels began to every corner of Trinidad and Tobago and abroad to USA, Canada, Guyana, and India. Jahan jeev pukare, tahan to sidhawe, or tahan ko sidhawe. So I would say that whenever even one jiva calls, and he would stress one, a jiva, he would say, it is our duty to respond. And so wherever Sahib went, he was both an interesting and controversial fellow to interact with, very much like Kabir Sahib. But as my brother Prem put it, he said he was both patient and persistent, however you wanted to look at it. Patient and persistent for things he wanted, and also maybe for things that some people didn't want. These qualities seem to define much of Sahib's approach to achieving any goal that he set his mind to. He was not one to give up. Every step for him was a yatra, and by extension also for those who came in contact with him. Now I will share just some small personal snippets from his grandchildren. His first grandchild, Garima, or Madhu, as you all know her, described him as her personal Professor Dumbledore. Well, if you're familiar with Harry Potter, you would know who she's talking about. She said because he was so knowledgeable about practically anything, and something about him was truly magical. She and her brother Sunil recall that Sahib wanted to create a board game with karma cards that represented Kal, or time, and the jivas trapped in this world, in this bhavasagar. And then we found out that somebody had already created one. So that was something I think my sister-in-law shared with me earlier. He was such a creative and fun Nana, always trying to include the teaching of Kabir Sahib in everything that he did. He knew what to say and how to say it so you felt so special. His grandson Rajiv. I was just a kid at the time, and I remember Sahib was not one to answer questions with yes or no. I was asked one day to wake him up. This is in England. And his reply was, "Oh, okay, so it's that time." And then he proceeded to check his fingers and toes and limbs. And as a kid, this for me was taking too long. In my impatience, I tried to hurry him along, to which he replied, "Well, you have to first wake up all the parts of your body before you can really be awake." And then he asked him, "Did you wake up all your body parts?" And then Rajiv replied, "Oh." And then he hurriedly, like this, like a child, and he said, his Ajay is saying, "All right, well, since you finished, maybe you could help me wake up mine." Rabina, she says, sometimes in satsang, his eyes would just meet mine, and it made me feel so special. He would just look at me with a simple smile and that twinkle in his eye. Even without saying a word, it would make me forget all of life's worries and remind me that everything was going to be okay. Ankit. Ankit describes Sahib as a trendsetter, one who always set his own path. But he said once he was around, he felt that nothing could go wrong. Nothing bad could happen to me. I always felt totally protected because he was right here. And he and Aji were always my defenders or protectors from any kind of buff. Not that his parents buff him, eh? Akshay. He was always playful with us no matter what. He allowed us to play our video games freely, stay up late and have fun. But afterwards, make no mistake, he would always call us for Sandhya. He reminded us that devotion is the most important thing, even more than school. He went out of his way to make our lives joyous, traveling to the US to meet us when we lived there. And even up to recently, while he was in the bed, he continued to have that same genuine care for us when he was no longer able to be so mobile. There has been an outpouring of stories from many of Sahib's disciples. I was meeting people and they were sharing so much, and it is very hard to condense all of that, but I will just take just a few lines and then I will come to the close. Some of the things that were said. He's taking us from the poorest state and completely transforming our lives beyond our imagination in a selfless and humble way. Never making any obstacle or challenge a problem. Pointing our children in the direction they needed to be for the next stage in their life. Always promoting devotion, hard work, truthfulness, and putting God and service before ourselves. Wherever there was a birth, a death, or a challenge with any respect in life, he would embrace us, hold our hand, and not let us go. Like a father figure, he was the foundation of our life. He taught us to ignore everyone and focus on the Sahib. He was not shy to get his own hands dirty in doing any kind of work. He was both the teacher, the student, and the example of whatever he was teaching. He wanted to answer all the questions we had. He did not care about our religion, our status, position, or affiliation, ability or inability. He just made you feel like you were the most special person to him. He was the one to take us to the Sadguru. Everything he said came to be. By far, the universal sentiment has been, I am who I am today because of Sahib. Timir gayi ravi dekhte, kumati gayi guru gyan, sumati gayi ati lobhate, bhakti gayi abhiman. Darkness goes away when the sun arises, and bad habits go away with the Guru's teachings. Good habits go away when we are greedy, and devotion goes away with our ego. Sahib was our sun. He took away all of our darkness. He was our Guru who gave us the knowledge that we needed at the most opportune moments in our life. I want to leave you with these words from our beloved Sahib Ji that he spoke just a few weeks ago, and it's just, I hope you can hear it well. Play from here. Here, if you can see there, that this was the picture, and the writing is also underneath if you can't hear clearly. Okay, so the sound here was a little bit low, but you gather what he said. I might be able to get. Oh, she got it, okay. Yes?
About that, this is a jug. What is being accomplished between all of us now is not about narrative.
All right, so the sound was a little bit choppy, but we are talking about Jagran, he said, and Yagna. And he said to me in that moment, actually, while I was there taking pictures of everybody coming to see him, taking little videos, because he told me, he said, do you know why you are here? Do you know why you are doing this work? And he said, because you will have to share this with those people that are coming. There are many people who came and he said his goodbyes for them. He wanted Yaj to continue going on. Maybe that's why we are going to have more days after this. But this was his final blessing to us. He says, the Sahib is always with us. What is being accomplished now is the real Yaj. And this is not an ordinary thing. Bandagi Sahib.
Thank you, Bahinji, for that really wonderful eulogy. And I want to thank the audience for their patience. I know it's a little late, it's a little hot, but all that we are hearing is just like Amrit. So when you're having Amrit, you want a little more. You don't get too fed up, I think, right, Swamiji? Okay, so thank you very much. We now, Joey. Okay, just a small procedure. Tinuka, put the Julie, and the Bira Prasad, which is called the passport, Panji Parwana. So Mahant Sahib will recite the Sumiran for that, and will offer that. The Sahib had already offered his coconut, which will be used at in the Chalawa Chauka. That's next month. So, yeah, good. Chalo, answer. Okay. Yes, sure, yeah. Okay, we are about to do the closing bandhana. So do we break these tinuka, symbolic of both good and bad deeds, any accumulation. Sahib has said we have to get gunatit, go beyond good and bad. So those who, right, okay, yeah. And the Bira Prasad. It's the same Bira Prasad when you go Chauka and you receive before you leave. Okay. Bolo Satguru Kabir Sahib ki Jai. So we are about ready to leave. Those who have not viewed the body are welcome to do pass this way, and you could do the body, and the group will commence the singing of after, yes, okay, we'll do the closing prayer, and just wait, let me do the closing. and then we will view the body last. And then while we're exiting, preparing to exit, the group will sing Chalahansa. Okay? So let us all put our minds and we offer this service at the feet of Sadhguru Kabir Sahib and pray collectively for the ascension and transition of our Jeev onto the immortal plains of Amarlok. Namo Shabda Rupi Sohejak Karta Dayapal Swami Savikash Saharata Vishalam Kripalam Dane Antaryami Videham Swarupam Kabiram Namami Videham Swarupam Kabiram Namami Jayatam Sadhgura Sweetarupam Amalam Swetambaram Subitam Karanena Kundal Sweta Shubra Mukatam Hiramani Manditam Nana Mala Mukta Dishobetagala Parmasane Sustitam Daya Vidhira Bhira Suprasanna Varanam Sadhuguram Tannamami Dve Padam Prebhujam Prasanna Varanam Dve Netram Dayalam Seli Kantamala Urvatilakam Shvetambari Mekala Chakrankita Sirto Paratna Kachitam Dve Panchataradhare Bande Sargura Yoga Danda Sahitam Kabir Karunamayam Dhyana Moolam Guru Ramurti Puja Moolam Guru Param Mantra Moolam Guru Ravakyam Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa Pandaniye Guru Sahib Ko Bar Bar Karjor Daya Karan Sanchay Haran Sandarupa Prabhutor Mangalamay Mangala Karan Mangala Rupa Kabir Dhyana Dharatna Shat Sakal Karma Janata Bhavapir Bando Sanamukha Sadhguru Shesha Beta Jaruhat Bachana Ucharo Bandagi Satya Prema Ki Sacharana Bandagi Charana Seva Ajarmur Bistad Sahib Kabir ko bandagi poche utre se sebar ke Kabir suno dharmadas charana bandagi karo prakas gyani dhyani naga nirbani Kutari bandari kat darshan chad samprada bhavan dwar char guru bans bialis ki daya bandagi sahib sahib bandagi sahib bandagi sahib bandagi bolo Sadhguru Kabir Sahib ki jai. Okay, you are welcome now to give everybody those who in holy fashion, while the group will sing Chalahansa and double up the verses as we exit. I'm going to thank everybody for coming and being a wonderful audience.
चल हंसा चलो हंसा सतलोक हमारा छोड़ो यह संसार हो छोड़ो यह संसार हो यह संसार काल है राजा यह संसार काल है राजा कर्म के जाल पसार
संसार सतलोक हमारा छोड़ो यह संसार हो। ब्रह्मा विष्णु शिव तन धरिया और को कौन विचार हो।
और को कौन विचार हो। सुर नर मुनि सब छल बल मारे। सुर नर मुनि सब छल बल मारे।
बोले 84 बेदार हो। सुर नर मुनि सब छल बल मारे। ये सब 84 बेदार हो। ओ सुर नर मुनि सब छल बल मारे। ये 84 बेदार हो। मर्य आकाश
आप जहाँ बैठे ज्योति शब्द कहराए हो। ज्योति शब्द कहराए हो। ताका रूप कहालत बरनो। ताका रूप कहालत बरनो। अनंत बान उजियार हो। ताका रूप कहालत बरनो। अनंत बान उजियार हो। सतलोक हमारा छोड़ो यह संसार हो। श्वेत स्वरूप शब्द जन फूले हंसा करत
विहार हो। हंसा करत विहार हो। कोटिन चांद सूरज छिपी जय में। कोटिन चांद सूरज छिपी जय में। एक रोम उजियार हो। कोटिन चांद सूरज छिपी जय में। एक रोम उजियार हो। ओ चल हंसा सतलोक हमारा छोड़ो यह संसार हो। वही पास
एक नगर
बरसत है बरसत अमृत धार हो।
बरसत अमृत धार हो।
कहे कबीर सुनो धर्मदासा। कहे कबीर सुनो धर्मदासा। लखों पुरुष दरबार हो। कहे कबीर सुनो धर्मदासा। लखों पुरुष दरबार हो। चल हंसा सतलोक हमारा छोड़ो यह संसार हो। बोलिए सद्गुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। बोलिए सद्गुरु कबीर साहिब की जय। अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी दीन दयाल। अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी दीन दयाल। अब की बेर उबारिए आई थी
में भूलिया बिसर गए निज नाम अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर जुगन जुगन भर मत फिरी यम के हाथ ठिकाए जुगन जुगन भर मत फिरे यम के हाथ ठिकाए कर जोरे बिनती करो कर जोरे बिनती करो मोहिन के बिछोरी मत जागे अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरी अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरे अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबार विषम नदी विकराल है गोहित करिया डाल विषम नदी विकराल है गोहित करिया ढाल मोह मगर के गान है मोह मगर के घाटक कोई सुर नर नर जा रे अब की बेर उबारिए मेरे अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरे अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब की बेर उबारिए मेरे अर्जी है दीन दयाल अब शब्द जहाज कबीर का सतगुरु